From Nevada Public Radio, I'm Mike Prevatt. This is State of Nevada.
And I'm Amber Renee Dixon, host of Nevada Week on Vegas PBS.
And today we're teaming up with Vegas PBS to try and answer the question, are ticketed events like concerts and sports in the Las Vegas tourist corridor, that would be the Strip in the downtown area, affordable for locals?
When you add up the price of a ticket, the price of parking, the price of food, can the average Las Vegan justify a night out on and around the Strip? And what about casinos, entertainment companies, and the sports industry? What are they doing to attract locals, and is it working?
And we have a panel of experts in studio to answer those questions. John Katsilometes is the entertainment reporter at the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Alan Snel is a publisher and reporter for lvsportsbiz.com. And Anthony Curtis, publisher of Las Vegas Advisor, a website and newsletter all about experiencing and saving money at Las Vegas casinos.
We also want to hear from you. How often are you going out in Las Vegas? Is it more or less than it used to be? And when you do go out, what are you spending your money on? To weigh in, call 702-258-3552. That's 702-258-3552.
And you can also email us at son@knpr.org. And you're always welcome to comment on our Facebook and Instagram pages at Nevada Public Radio. Let's start with Anthony Curtis. Welcome back to State of Nevada.
Yeah, good to be here.
Thanks for coming here. Hey, what have you been seeing posted by locals on your website or your social media channels in regard to just general costs on or near the Strip?
Let's see, one word, anger. How about that? Yeah, people aren't happy. It's locals and it's visitors. You know, it's the whole thing. We've seen numbers recently going down in Vegas, and it's the whole pie. Everybody's tired of, what's now become known as the gouge.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you see people specifically talking about the cost of ticketed events and other things that go along with the concert or the sporting event experience, food, transportation? Are you seeing that on your channels, and what are they saying?
Well, less for locals. Locals, they're not typically those that come, out-of-towners come here to see an event. Mm-hmm. So they gripe about, prices. Sphere is an example. We really want to go, but good Lord, it's so expensive. Locals less so. Locals just the normal stuff. Just prices of everything. They just can't go to the Strip because they don't want to pay $14 for a Budweiser.
Do you think they've almost started to rule out going to see ticketed events because of those other things that they generally complain about on your site?
Yeah, I think a little bit more just because of, again, price increases. But locals have always done other things. Locals have always had their places to go, their famous, the places they find, their favorite bar, a place where they can, play the games in the bar or video poker, that sort of thing. So going to ticketed events like shows and sports, not so much for locals really ever.
Anthony, did you say the gouge? Who's calling it that? And who's calling what? It's Las Vegas is being called the gouge?
Let me tell you, it's nice to be on your show, but this is one of many that I have been on recently talking about specifically the gouge. And they're talking really about the Strip casinos more than anything, them having their hand in your pocket for elevated prices and fees. What they hate most is the fees, whether it be resort fees, parking, you got to pay extra for a good seat in a restaurant now, on and on and on. They just keep inventing them.
And that anger that you mentioned, when did you notice that start?
Right after the pandemic. All right, because really what happened here was during COVID, everybody had to stay in. Of course, Vegas shut down. I famously told the media Vegas would never shut down, and it did the next day. So, 72 days or whatever it was, people got their stimulus. They saved money because they weren't doing anything. When they opened the doors, they attacked. They came in like they were never in a casino before in their lives. The casinos reacted in their typical way, which is what the market will bear. They raised prices, and then, the grumbling began.
Okay, so the philosophy of your website, it's all about getting the most out of Vegas. What does that look like for a Las Vegas local right now?
Well, it's better than you would think because of the competition factor in Vegas. This is the most competitive city literally in the world. We've got 80 to 90 casinos. That doesn't count the bars, the restaurants. Everybody's fighting against one another. So if you're smart and you're a consumer, you practice consumerism, you can dig out deals. So locals, they figure it out, and they move around, but they don't do the things that the people coming from LA or from the Midwest are doing. They don't come here to go see a show. They're here. They don't need to. They can pick and choose.
Okay, so then what would a typical night out for you look like as a local? What would you recommend people do? Can you kind of lay that out for us?
Yeah, well, from a lot of locals, what's left out of this conversation is the gambling component. A lot of locals like to play. It's a form of entertainment. For most people, we hear about problem gambling, we hear about professional gambling. Those, two sides of the spectrum. But most people do it for entertainment. So it comes down to the gambling product that they're getting, and they will seek out. I will seek out. I'll go to a bar where I know I'm going to get my drinks for free for playing a reasonable video poker schedule. And not all of the casinos have picked up on that the way famously George Maloof did at the Palms. He catered to locals with his gambling schedules, and that's what a lot of people do in Vegas. They go to the better games.
Anthony, you know the ins and outs of a casino better than just about anybody. I'm wondering, do strip and downtown casinos reach out to locals when their financial expectations aren't being met with their tourist clientele? Are we essentially the backup plan?
For some, not for all. And you would think it would be for all. We're seeing a little bit more of that because things have been kind of drastically down recently, the last couple of months. So we're seeing more of that, of reaching out to the locals. You do see the one thing they do universally almost to bring the locals in is the at least 3 hours grace in parking. The locals paid parking, forget it. They're not going to do it. So that is a nod to the locals at the casino saying, okay, 3 hours for you, which gives you time to either play or eat, or if you want to see a show, you can just make it under that, that realm.
Barely under that realm, I might add. If you're just joining us, we're talking about strip corridor shows and sports and whether they are affordable for Las Vegas locals. If you want to weigh in or if you have a question for our panel, call us at 702-258-3552 or email us at son@knpr.org. You can also leave a comment on our Facebook or Instagram pages. That's at Nevada Public Radio. And again, that number, 702-258-3552.
Let's turn now to John Katsilometes, entertainment reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. How does Las Vegas, John, compare to other cities in terms of ticket prices for concerts, for example?
There's a higher concentration of shows, so there's more competition for the dollar, so that runs up and down the scale. I think what we're seeing is there's more emphasis on higher price tickets for the headliners because we have more headliners. That makes sense. So when the headliners come in, you start seeing something like when Dolly Parton goes on sale, you can't get in the door for less than $1,000. That happens in Las Vegas, and pretty much exclusively here because we have so many residency shows. So there's a lot of emphasis on high ticket prices, rightfully so, because we have so many top-line entertainers. Bruno Mars, you look at all the residents, that are coming on the horizon, that are going to be Sphere headliners. So that's what separates us in terms of price points, is we have a lot of high-end ticket prices because we have a lot of in-demand resident entertainers, not just touring shows, but resident entertainers.
And I do have a follow-up question to that. When Anthony talked about the increased demand following the pandemic and then the casinos responding with higher prices, did that happen with tickets as well?
Yeah, it did. And it stayed there, because people were so eager, as we know, when they reopened in 2021, we had shows. We had an influx of people really ready to do things, and there were some results that really surprised me about production shows in Las Vegas. For example, Miss Stare at Treasure Island, which was kind of doing so-so business before the pandemic, suddenly was like a show nobody had ever known about, and it was doing like numbers, like 90% to 95% sold after COVID, and has stayed there. So it was a thirst for entertainment at that point. And what has happened too is as a result of that whole pandemic, I kind of hate to keep referring or to refer to the pandemic area, but a lot of smaller locals targeted venues opened in the reopening of COVID and during the COVID, where they could do spaced seating and everything, that have survived. And locals have found those places. I'm talking about Notoriety Live at Neonopolis. I'm talking about the Composer's Room at the Commercial Center on East Sahara, that locals have found and have been supporting. And that is a result of everything that we've talked about, where the expense on the Strip is so high that people are finding life finds a way. It was amoebically these other places, and there's a lot of them like that. But I think that the demand was there, and then I think we've had the pendulum swing back to where the people who were supporting, if they were locals or tourists, are making their next trips back here, and they're finding that they're getting, the fee thing is the biggest complaint I hear. The fees that are hidden, the fees that we don't know about, the fee to get the ticket, the $10 to get money, all that stuff that you haven't budgeted, and it does give us a reputation for trying to just, the gouge is a thing. When you walk into a casino floor, I've had people who have been entertainers in the city for a long time saying they're hearing from tourists when they come into a hotel casino that they've spent $100 before they do anything, before they see a show or anything, to start their experience, whether it's going to a show or not.
And I want to clarify one thing. When we're talking about ticket prices, who sets these prices?
The artists.
Okay, so it's not the casino. We can't say,
well, if you're talking about a touring show or resident show, the big ones, always goes back to the artists. Don't know this. Somewhere the artist is authorizing those fees. There's a lot of claiming and a lot of hand wringing by artists. I can't believe these prices. The artists at the end of this set those prices. They know the market value, and they know what they can get for a ticket and get away with it, and the ticket market and the prices respond accordingly.
You were talking about Mystere. We looked up ticket prices for Cirque shows, and the most expensive one in North America is O at the Bellagio.
O has sold more tickets than any resident show ever in history.
So no surprise there.
No.
Okay.
It's a juggernaut. Yeah, and that's the cash cow for Cirque universally is O. And you talk about a show that has never even had to do an overhaul. They've moved acts in and out, but they've never done set down and remake O. They don't have to.
I know we have a call, but I want to ask Anthony one question about the casino's response following COVID. Have they responded in the current economic climate?
They're beginning to. And I mean, we saw it immediately at places like Resorts World, that all of a sudden they said, okay, no more parking fees. And then 3 weeks later, they said no more resort fees. So now you've now got a place, Center Strip, gigantic casino hotel, where those fees are now eliminated. And so they are doing it. Station Casino came out with a $5.99 24/7 hamburger, and you don't see that from Station for years now, and they're like, uh-oh, something's wrong. And we're seeing it that way.
So we'd like to bring on Brad from Las Vegas. He has something to say about the costs on the Strip. Brad, welcome to the program.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call. Thank you, distinguished guests. I'm an older adult. I've been associated with this city. I've lived in this city off and on since approximately 2007. And I can say right now that us older folks, we remember things were cheaper. It's all relative to how much income you make. But as a financially responsible adult, the Strip, I've seen systematically they've taken away all incentives for locals. They remove locals' discounts, and they charge for parking. And I guess reaffirming what you're saying, going to a show back in the 2007 to 2008 time frame before the financial crisis hit, the O show was a lot more affordable. There's the shows now, you have to live within your means, and you just have to be very selective. If you want to see a show, is it worth it, and is it worth the ticket price and all the residual costs that factor into it? Again, as being an older adult, I just don't see the value in the Strip anymore. It has become the gouge, as per what you're saying.
John, is this something you're hearing quite a bit?
Yeah, I have. And I think we've I've always said that the Strip, Las Vegas generally, but the Strip especially, does better when it's fluid, when there's no break. When people can come in, walk in, and enjoy their stay, and that when they see these costs, these fees, and the parking, whether it's that or the high ticket prices that prevent them from having a good experience, they're going to stay away. Not only are they going to stay away, but they're going to remind the people who are visiting them that to be careful about what to budget accordingly, I would just say. So I think yes to that.
Thanks, Brad, for your call. John, we've had a couple of cancellations in the concert world here. You had written about the weekend's July 4th concert at Allegiant Stadium being called off. Fans were told there were production load-in issues. But then the July 5th show still went on as
No production
planned.
issues with that one. No, it was he was selling, to my best knowledge, about less than 50%, maybe as low as 20% for that July 4th
Wow.
show. Yeah, and he sold out, wiped out the 5th. Now the problem with the weekend show is you have to kind of bow to the obvious here. When you're running a July 4th show in Las Vegas inside at that scale, and you have one right after it. Come on, July 4th is not. People don't come to Las Vegas to be inside Allegiant Stadium necessarily for anything. It's an outdoor experience, and that's what happened there. I don't believe for 1 minute it was operational.
Surely. And I'm wondering in general how much concert promoters depend on locals to buy up tickets, especially at a major show like that when you've got tens of thousands of tickets, there's seats to fill. Is there any strategy for these major promoters to make sure that locals make up a certain amount of that?
For touring shows, there's nothing there's no consistent outreach, program other than, to hit them through your social media and mass media marketing, outdoor advertising, all that kind of stuff. But, it's interesting when you go to these sites. This is kind of a cynical approach, but and I've had people who understand the ticketing business really well explain that it's like when you buy airline tickets. When you're on a plane and you're sitting next to somebody in first class or in coach or whatever, you don't expect that everybody paid the same price for the ticket. It's when you bought it and how you obtained it. There's also a way on these sites. If you go in, you can go into shows at Allegiant Stadium on Ticketmaster, where a lot of these shows, most of them, where you can get into a PayPal payment plan to buy these tickets. So if you see a $1,200 ticket for the Eagles, you immediately go, oh my God, I'm not paying $1,200 to see the Eagles. But they say, hey, 4 installments on PayPal, right? And the people who put this together say, look, a lot of fans like that option because they don't have the. And I'm like, ooh, my.
When did you see that start to happen?
I started seeing it after the COVID opening. That's when I noticed it. I don't know how long it had been there before that, but there's PayPal, but there's others. I think Klarna is one. And you go in and you can put down $200 a shot to see Shakira.
Yeah, here's a way to finance your tickets.
And the market will give you the answer. You get the verdict on all this stuff through the market. Through the buying market, and if they don't like it, it'll go away, but it hasn't.
That story about the weekend is pretty juicy, but you also wrote about Kelly Clarkson, I believe. What was behind her cancellation?
Well, if you take it at face value, she over-rehearsed her voice. That's what she, that was her claim. And Kelly Clark, one thing about Kelly Clarkson, I know her, she's all about her fans. I don't think that she'd necessarily drop a show just because she was in a mood. I saw her the next weekend and she was great. There were some sales concerns with that show, with her first weekend. The first Friday especially. The second weekend did really well. It was even selling well before the opener. I don't know what happened there. My educated assessment of that, it was a hybrid thing. She might not have been physically ready to go, and it was the option of taking off that weekend wasn't going to hurt her that much financially. And she crushes it ever since. But that's usually when there's a show. I will say, with the exception of Adele, usually when a show is canceled like that, it's because there's at least a component of soft sales in that decision. Adele had sold everything when she canceled her original show. She had wiped out the place, but she really wasn't ready to perform.
And then one more question from me about the secondary market and what role it plays in these high ticket prices.
Well, they get the one thing about the secondary market is Ticketmaster and Access too, the Ford and GM of ticket brokers they list secondary seats, resale seats on their sites now and give the prices. So people who want to give their tickets back, those are the pink dots we see. There's blue dots and they're pink dots. Blue are the primary market, the ones that that's the money that goes to the artist and goes to all where the fees go. The other tickets have already been purchased and they're being resold. So take that as a mini kind of a version of a ticket broker right there. And again, with the resale market, with LasVegasTickets.com and StubHub and all the other ones, they obtain tickets and sell them at a very high rate, and that is that issue has become a very contentious point between the primary seller and the secondary market. Secondary market says we own the tickets at the moment we get them. We can sell them for whatever we want. Primary market says you're moving the meter too high for regular ticket prices, and we're starting to see the artists respond accordingly. Beyonce's tickets originally were up over $800 to $1,000 for the floor seats, which was about 4 times as much, maybe 3 times as much as Taylor Swift, because they anticipated the resale market and said, look, if the ticket brokers are going to charge $1,200 for the seats, we're going to right out of the gate. You know, if we know that's the market value, we'll take the money and not let the brokers make a killing on it. There's a lot of interplay in this, and there's a lot of debate about who owns tickets after they're bought. The ticket brokers are saying, hey, we can sell them for $1 million if we want to. You know, this is fair market.
And Christine from Las Vegas has a thought on the Kelly Clarkson show. Christine, welcome to State of Nevada.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, we went and saw Kelly Clarkson. She was fantastic at the Coliseum, and I assumed I was going to get my 3 hours of free parking, but Caesars wouldn't even. They didn't even consider it. They considered it a special event, which made me laugh, and forced me to pay the $35. I'll never do that again.
So
I refuse to pay.
It sounds like you would reconsider seeing a show on the Strip if you know there's going to be that $35 or more parking charge.
Absolutely. I spent $400 on tickets. Why would you? And drinks were incredibly expensive. So I would rather take Uber or Lyft and give them the money than give it to the parking companies.
Wow. Thanks, Christine. Appreciate the
Event
feedback
parking.
on that. Yeah, I've heard about that as well.
Yeah.
And speaking of Uber, we actually have an Uber driver on the line. He's got some feedback for us. Josh from Las Vegas, welcome to State of Nevada.
Thank you. I'd like to say I do multiple rides, 25, 30 rides a day up and down the Strip, a lot to the airport. And the major sentiment I'm hearing a lot of is that Vegas is becoming too expensive. 2 or 3, 4 times a day, I'll hear someone say, I'm not coming back until I know it's going to be cheaper.
Wow. When you are, I've been in Uber cars where I've, had conversations about Las Vegas and especially the tourist experience and prices. What do you say in response to that? Do you feel obligated to keep the conversation going and be like, well, I've heard from other people, or this has been my experience? I mean, how does that usually go after they drop that bomb that hey, I'm not coming back?
Well, usually it starts when they mention the decline in tourism. That's the conversation starter at that point. And I was like, oh, how was your experience? And they say, oh, it was very expensive, way more expensive than I ever expected it to be. And then I kindly, gently say, hey, are you familiar with the experience you might have on Fremont Street where you can save a little bit more money? So, I don't want to dissuade them from ever coming back and give them options on, things that might be a better experience for them financially.
Yeah, thanks so much for that call. We are talking about entertainment in Las Vegas and how accessible it is to locals, and that includes sporting events. Up next, we have Alan Snel, publisher and reporter for lvsportsbiz.com.
And we're still taking your comments and questions on this 1-hour program of State of Nevada this Wednesday. If you'd like to join the conversation, do as Christine did. Give us a call at 702-258-3552. That's 702-258-3552. You can always email us at son@knpr.org, or you can reach us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Nevada Public Radio. We'll be right back. This is State of Nevada.
Can AI help design better buildings? In the summer issue of Desert Companion, writer Scott Dickensheets talks with an architect and UNLV associate professor about the role AI plays in architectural design. You can find that story and much more at desertcompanion.com, where you can also subscribe for home delivery.
Support for Nevada Public Radio comes from Comprehensive Cancer Centers. Research at Comprehensive has led to more than 100 new FDA-approved cancer treatments, giving patients access to more effective treatment options. Learn more at cccnevada.com. And California Closets, providing custom design closets and room solutions for the whole home. Personal design consultation booking at californiaclosets.com.
On the next Fresh Air, NASA once symbolized America's highest ideals. Now many say it's ceded its mission to Elon Musk. Journalist Franklin Ford joins us to talk about how SpaceX became indispensable to the U.S. government, what it means for the future of space exploration, and why Musk's dream of Mars may come at the cost of NASA's mission. Join us today at 1 on KNPR.
Today's Leadership Circle sponsor is Dana Lee for Jeremiah Program, whose mission is to disrupt the cycle of poverty for single mothers and their children. Voices Rising, Collective Dreaming, their signature fundraising event featuring storytelling and celebration, will be held Friday, September 12th at 6 p.m. Ticket information at jeremiahprogram.org.
And we're back at KNPR's State of Nevada. I'm your host, Mike Prevatt, and co-hosting with me today is Amber Renee Dixon, host of Nevada Week on Vegas PBS.
Today we're talking about affordability for locals when it comes to entertainment and sports. Several professional sports teams call Las Vegas home, with more on the way, including the A's baseball team in 2028 and a potential NBA team. But what does it cost to see these teams live and in person? And when events like F1 seem to take over the tourist corridor, what price are locals paying so that others can be entertained?
And to answer that, we welcome Alan Snel, publisher and reporter of LVSportsBiz.com. Alan, welcome back to State of Nevada.
Hey, it's great to be here again.
So I'm wondering if the cost of producing your average sporting event, say a Raiders game, maybe it's an Aces game, has that gone up commensurate to the rise of ticket prices?
Well, it's interesting. I was in Allegiant Stadium just yesterday, and they need 6,000 workers a game to put on a football game. So it's costly. It's costly. UNLV rents Allegiant Stadium, and I took the prices right off the Freedom of Information reports from UNLV. And you're talking about Mark Davis and the Raiders that run the stadium. They make more than $2.2 million a year on rent just to UNLV. So, and they claim that it's at cost. You can only imagine if they really wanted to make more money, which is what they usually do on the events there. So,
yet UNLV football is keeping its prices reasonable.
Yeah, in the terms of the price spectrum, UNLV, I think, is a reasonable deal. I mean, compared to what you're seeing at F1, Raiders, and Golden Knights. So UNLV has been doing a lot of advertising to get the word out about their tickets, which might start around $25, $30. Go ahead.
Okay, well, you're talking about F1. So a 3-day general admission ticket to F1 this year costs $834. A 2023 study by Betway, an online gambling company, showed it would cost a family of 4 about $550 to attend a Golden Knights game if each person got a hot dog and a drink. What do you make of those prices? What does that tell you?
Las Vegas is a very unique outlier market. We're small, so we're at 2.3 million, and typically you don't have those kind of prices in smaller markets, but we do here because we have this magic 40 million tourist number that is very alluring and enticing to the sports teams and the sports promoters, and they jack up the prices based on the fact that they feel they can make a lot of money, not so much on locals, but on sports tourists. F1, I've done several stories about the cost in year one, according to a website that tracked the cost of F1 events around the world. Believe it or not, in year one here, Las Vegas Grand Prix was the most expensive average ticket on the F1 circuit. And they took a big hit in year one because, for several reasons, but the cost of the ticket was astronomical. It was really beyond the realistic reach of a local. So they learned their lesson. They tried to lower the price in 2024, and then the price that you just quoted is actually a pretty good deal compared to what they were floating back in year one. So
I want to continue on this thread of F1, Alan. Locals may not choose to pay to attend an event, but they may be paying for it in some other way for others to attend that event. And we saw this with F1, with businesses that had to close for the races and hospitality workers having to spend more time getting off and on the strip. We are now in year 3 of F1's contract. Do you know what has changed this year that could ease more locals' concerns?
Well, it started in year 2. Year 1 was an absolute disaster. It was a PR mess. In fact, I think John and I, we used to talk on your show, Amber, about that very topic.
Mm-hmm.
Year 2 was a huge improvement. They did a lot of the preparation and installment of the equipment overnight, so the traffic problems decreased. And you're going to probably see probably a smaller increase in terms of the time, in terms of the ability to install the equipment, the fencing. Keep in mind that when you build an F1 track, it's basically a 3.8-mile stadium. And this is the classic winners and losers. The hotels on the circuit do better than usual that weekend. But the small guys get crushed. And if your business is not related to the race, you will lose money that weekend. If your business is related to the race, you will do well. And that is something we've seen at all sports events in all cities.
Are there budget-friendly options for sports on the Las Vegas Strip?
Well, I mean, I started with, I think, UNLV football. I mean, I think those guys have a nice deal. We just did a story really only 3 weeks ago looking at the variety of deals, and you had prices ranging pretty much. In fact, they're playing a game August 23rd. In fact, 3 weeks from Saturday is their opening day. They moved up. I think they play Idaho State, and the price to get in for the ticket is $30 in that kind of range, which is kind of reasonable when you compare that to Raiders. And Golden Knight tickets.
Who have one of the highest preseason ticket prices in the whole league, right?
Yeah, the Golden Knights and the Raider tickets average price rank near the top of their respective leagues. The Golden Knight, I like UNLV ticket range. I also believe it's not on the Strip, but the Aviators minor league baseball out in Summerlin, you have free parking. The thing that we talk about just can't be overstated is just the lack of public infrastructure to get people to these events on the Strip corridor. Real cities, I'm not putting down Las Vegas or Clark County, but real cities actually have real infrastructure. For Golden Knight games and Raiders games, probably the best deal, I think, to get there is that RTC $2 bus that takes you from about 5 different satellite locations, like the Station Casino properties, and will get you to the stadium or the arena for $2 one way and $2 back for $4. You can't beat that. And, again, the old bugaboo of parking.
And we've got a caller, Frank from Texas. He's got some thoughts on this. Frank, welcome to the program. Hello, Frank.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fine. Go ahead.
We got a caller, Frank from Texas. Yeah, man, like I said, Surf Team popped out in Las Vegas last night. We were expecting to spend a little quick $10,000. We ended up spending, I want to say, 2 or 3 times. Honestly thought it was going to be like the movie they described in Hangover. Definitely wasn't. It's all right. Went to the casino. That's pretty much where I lost the money fast, so I didn't really get to have fun. But other than that, I mean, definitely got to be a millionaire to come out here and, have a good time, enjoy yourself, and not go back home worrying about, more income. That's about it.
What kind of scene were you hoping to happen from The Hangover?
Literally the scene that they had, blacking out, waking up the next morning lost somewhere, trying to figure out what I did the next day, pretty much.
But you just woke up broke.
I guess it was going to be a movie. Okay. Yeah, definitely woke up with my pockets hurting. Yes.
Thank you, Frank, for that. All kinds of experiences here in Las Vegas.
Hangover package.
Surprised that hasn't been put together.
Just put it together. Guaranteed blackout. Guaranteed wake up broke.
Ellen, I want to ask you about the Aces. They have now won 2 championships. This is one professional team on the Strip, maybe where some value can be had?
So the Aces are interesting. They actually had a really decent ticket last year. They had like a $15 or $20 ticket for a good chunk of the seats, and they do have a price point in that range. So the Aces are a pretty decent deal. They sell out around 10,000 strong every game at home. Again, it gets back to the parking issue. The feedback I get from fans is that they especially locals, is that they'd love to go to more games, but it's such a headache to get to the game, to find parking.
And I'm thinking about the A's when they come in 2028. That's 35,000 heads in a stadium.
33,000.
33,
right.
excuse me, and 81 home games, not counting the possible postseason. I mean, I would imagine that tickets would have to be, on some level, somewhere in the stadium, affordable to get that many people in there.
Well, here's the deal. You're going to have one of the highest percentages of premium seating of any Major League Baseball park in the big leagues at the A Stadium. They are packing that venue with high-end seating options because it'll be one of the smallest stadiums with 33,000. They'll have 30,000 seats, 3,000 standing room, and as a result, you're going to see high prices because of the premium seating options. Traditionally, baseball parks will have they'll reserve a certain block of tickets for quote unquote, a reasonable rate. So I would expect to see that, but I would anticipate that the average A's stadium ticket here in Vegas, assuming it does open on time on 2028, will be among the highest prices. Right now, it's usually Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, Red Sox for the most costly ticket. I think the A's will be in the top fourth of all the teams in average ticket prices when that stadium opens.
Joanne from Sun City wants to weigh in. Joanne, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi there. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I live in Sun City, and I've been here since 2018, and I've never gone on the Strip. I've gone to Smith's maybe 3 times, the Smith Center, because in Sun City we have the Starbright Theater, which has tribute bands constantly. They're phenomenal. I just saw Neil Diamond last weekend tribute, and the musicians are spot on. They're very talented, and I spend $35 to go to them. So
that's wonderful.
There are local. Yeah,
and I guess
right. I can't even tell you.
The key word there, though, is tribute. Neil Diamond tribute.
Right, which is fine because I want the music. I don't care about the man. I want the music.
Neil will be happy to hear that.
Okay, well then, here's a question for the group. We've talked about how expensive it is to simply go to the Las Vegas Strip and park. Lack of infrastructure, Alan, you have said. So with that in mind, has the Las Vegas Strip ever been meant for locals? And Anthony Curtis with Las Vegas Advisor, I think you've been here the longest, since the 70s, right?
Late 70s, very late 70s.
Okay, what do you think?
I think no, they don't target locals. It is a second, Mike said earlier, backup for a lot of them. And I like that last caller. She said what I had said earlier. The locals have their own tricks. They have their own places. They have their things that they've rooted out, and they figured out that they don't need to go to the Strip. The Strip kind of knows that. The Strip kind of turns its nose up at locals, knowing that they're not going to come with the big money the way the visitors do. The hangover guy, who brought his whole bank account and wondered why he didn't have it when he left. But they're just doing what makes sense for them economically.
What about you, John Katsilometes?
Well, I will say there is the caller hit on. There is a Neil Diamond tribute at the Smith Center coming up on August 12th.
Oh.
So they can you can do that. And you can throw Anthem in there. The Freedom Hall at Anthem too is another place. And those little places sell out.
People even go to libraries, John.
Yeah, the library theater.
Yeah.
And the library.
And
both.
the library
you
has
could find
wonderful
yourself
programs.
trying to check out a book and wind up in a Neil Diamond tribute show. You never know in Las Vegas. But another thing you can happen, people think there are some opportunities on the Strip that aren't really necessarily widely marketed that are no cover or low cover. And a couple of them that locals might like if you're into like tribute or like classic rock cover, whatever, are one is Caspian's at Caesar's Palace, no cover to get into the hideaway room there. That's a lot of fun. They even have a Kelly Clarkson karaoke night on Wednesdays.
Wow.
Yeah. In Caesar's Palace at what used to be Cleopatra's Barge. That's fun. And the barber shop over at the Cosmopolitan, same model, no cover. You go in there, you spend 3 hours, and the drinks are more expensive and everything, but you're in there for free, and it's a lot of fun. You can spend hours in there. It's not like you've spent an exorbitant amount of money getting into the venue. There are places around that still fit that model. Rhythm and Riffs at Mandalay Bay, another one, no cover, really cool. They have great programming all through the week. They have a thing called Nashville Unplugged, which is an acoustic show. Aaron Benward, who's a great singer-songwriter, brings in top-line songwriters, and they play an acoustic set every night. No cover.
So then, John, as the staple entertainment reporter here in Las Vegas, has the Las Vegas Strip ever been meant for locals?
In my lifetime, I think it was more friendly to locals when I moved here. I moved here in '96. I felt it was just more fluid, and you could go to more. I mean, there was a great open lounge experience for locals pretty much everywhere. There really was. That isn't, I'm thinking about the Big Apple Lounge. They had a great lounge over at the MGM Grand. You could just go walk. That community is not being served anymore. So I don't know. Wayne Newton one time told me that he was the first ever locals act in Las Vegas to make it. He was at the Fremont in 1959, and 4 years later, him and his brother were at the Flamingo, and the locals crowd made him a Strip performer. So that's multiple generations ago. I don't know if it was built. I don't know if the Brat Pack they weren't Las Vegas residents. They weren't locals.
At the Las Vegas Advisor website, I saw a $10 discount for Wayne Newton, huh?
Yeah. Go get it.
Yeah. Alan Snel, what do you think?
Well, I just want to chirp in that locals are beginning to understand that they have to be savvy about ticket prices on the Strip. And what you're seeing, especially at Golden Knight games, is that you have some people who are deciding whether they should buy a season ticket package versus waiting for games and buying them literally one-on-one, kind of just in isolation, and going to buy resale tickets. And what they do is they wait really up until literally the face-off, and you can buy a ticket for $35, $40. Mm-hmm. So what you're seeing is this kind of savvy strategy of does it pay to buy season tickets, or do you want to buy a resale ticket and where you wait and you can buy a ticket for $35, $40 and get into the Hyde Lounge?
This is true.
And you're beginning to see locals figure out ways to get to events but make it affordable.
True of touring shows too, Alan. That strategy, like when BTS is when they came in here, they were sold out for 4 shows, but an hour before the show, you could get those tickets for $25 at Allegiant Stadium. So I think the locals are figuring that out as well.
I want to point this to Anthony Curtis. There is a culture here in Las Vegas of locals. They'll end up landing some complimentary tickets to shows, comps as we call them. It's not uncommon. You'll hear someone say, well, I'm going to hold out before buying a show to see if I get a comp. And this raises the question, can locals be entitled here?
Oh, locals, they feel very entitled, and they expect special treatment. When they don't get it, they'll move somewhere else. Again, it's the options that locals learn. One thing we haven't brought up is things like house seats or seat fillers, where they're papering a room and literally giving away tickets to people. And that's a locals thing for the most part. Even us, Las Vegas Advisor, will get called by a casino saying, look, we've got a show that's undersold, undersubscribed. We'll give your members free tickets, or we'll give them discounts or 2-for-1s. So, yeah, locals have learned to be savvy. Like the others on the panel have said, they've learned to wait and look around.
What about going to Strip properties or even off-Strip properties to watch events, and that, in most senses, would be a sporting event. How popular has that become, or it's probably always been happening?
Well, what's interesting is that the city of Henderson's arena has become a player, and they have more affordable options. They'll have indoor lacrosse at the arena in the district there, and you'll have indoor football games, and you're beginning to see. And then you have in downtown, you do have the Lights. You have the soccer team, and they play at Cashman. That's another affordable alternative. So, you have this, kind of a smorgasbord of price points where you can pay $20, $30, but the bottom line is, if you're talking Golden Knights, F1, Raiders, and keep in mind, our market is not a very wealthy market. The average salary is around $70,000, maybe up to $75,000. It's hard to afford, thousands and thousands of dollars of season ticket deals. So that's why you're beginning to see, I think, more local, the minor league options, the smaller league options being viable alternatives.
And this is, of course, some of these bars will call themselves official watch party bars for certain teams, and you go to the bar, you watch them play on TV with other fans. I'm wondering, Alan, what does this phenomenon do to the health of the sport? I mean, you're essentially replacing the real-life experience of seeing it in person with something more remote, but, I mean, it might also just promote the sport of the team too, right?
Right, so that actually helps the local economy. You have bars and grills that are official watch party locations, and you'll have everything from, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, Green Bay Packer fans, New York Giant fans, Browns fans. There are bars that designate themselves as official watch party. So, that's kind of that's also kind of a fun option for locals, and it's obviously much more affordable too. And you have a different kind of environment. You can bond with local fans and meet people.
I'll just say real quick, those are amazing. They're really good. And at the beginning of every NFL season, we go to all of them and check them out and rate them and say which ones are really where they gather. Those are fun. You'd rather be there than at the game half the time.
John, I want to ask you about an area of entertainment that we haven't talked about. We generally don't talk about too much, and that's attractions. And I feel like if there's going to be local discounts on the Strip, I feel like it's more oriented towards attractions. This could be like, for instance, the Adventure Dome, which just lowered its ride wristband prices by half. Is that an area of Strip entertainment that is sort of inherently more locals friendly?
I know it's a trend. And I think that locals, they're going after locals. It's not on the Strip, but Area 15 has a $15 ticket for 9 attractions right now to go see all the stuff in there. And that's a success story. It's not on the Strip, but a lot of Strip properties have taken notice of their popularity. They have John Wick over there. We've just had the Friends experience, which I haven't seen open. Something like the Bob Marley experience at Mandalay Bay. It's going after locals because they know they have to have locals come in and bring their friends and family. But it's the kind of thing, you're not going to have a Bob Marley tribute act. You're not going to have Ziggy Marley in residency at Mandalay Bay, probably. But you have multiple rooms dedicated to his life and career and the reggae culture. Now, it's a great experience. They have a great cast, most of them from Jamaica. It's like Cirque meets reggae, this place. Is it too niche? Is it too narrow? That's what we're going to find out. But we're seeing resorts go in that direction where it's not. It's a walkthrough. It's something that you are a part of. You can dance in it. You can watch it. There's seating. You can do whatever. 50 minutes, and get out of there. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. This is a weather balloon. This Bob Marley thing. It's a very interesting test for what they might be planning on the Strip further down the road. Some of these unoccupied theaters are watching what happens there.
Uh-huh. Have you seen anything like it in recent years?
Not like this. No, not quite like this. It's a very non-Las Vegas Strip casino vibe.
Huh.
You walk in there and it's a portal into another land, and that's what these places are trying to be. They had one that I thought was wonderful that didn't work called Particle Inc. at Luxor. That was it was one of those things. Everything I like doesn't work. That was one of them. And but they've got that kind of spirit, but at a greater scale and a greater commitment at Mandalay Bay and a better location off the casino floor. So it's a big investment and a big ambitious risk, but the reward might be incredible.
I think a good question for everyone here, what is it going to take to bring ticket prices down? Alan, let's start with you.
Well, you're going to have, I think, locals be more aggressive in seeking deals. And, you know, the bottom line is tourism drives the train here, and it's hard to get the Clark County commissioners or politicians on board. So, honestly, I don't see prices going down for locals.
Anthony?
Yeah, good answer there, because they're not going to go down. You know, every year we do a canvassing of all the shows. We get an average ticket price. Goes up every single year. So how do you get ticket prices to go down? You become a consumer and you look. You look around. You try, you look online. You look for discounts. You look for special deals. You go to comedy shows instead of, big shows. You've got to do it yourself if you want lower tickets.
John, we've got 20 seconds. What do you say?
The market dictates this issue. That's period. And when I see stuff like payment plans to see the Eagles, that's the way to get the ticket pricing down for one ticket per installment. And that's the answer.
We want to thank Alan Snel, publisher of LVSportsBiz.com, John Katsilometes, entertainment reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and Anthony Curtis, publisher of Las Vegas Advisor. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to our listeners as well who called in and wrote in. As always, your insights are invaluable to this program.
And a special thanks to Vegas PBS and Amber Renee Dixon, host of Nevada Week, and their staff who helped us put this special collaboration together. Amber, it has been a pleasure to host with you.
We love doing it. Let's do it again.
Great to hear. We'll do it. I'm Mike Prevatt, and this is State of Nevada.